I mean, can you even control yourself with that beautiful music?
Right?
Doesn't it just make you want to dance and move your body? Hi, you guys.
Hey,
Hello.
How do
Good
you
to
do?
see you.
Good to see
good
you
to see you
guys.
guys.
Well, we are back with Dark Night of the Soul, and today Patricia and I are joined by our friend, Real AF Patriot, who is Steve, and that is a new revelation that you have just revealed.
Yes, like within the last week.
Wow.
I mean, is it a big deal? Is it nerve-wracking?
Not really now. It's like it's like I was telling Patrick the other day when I had him on my show. I'm like, when I finally decided to do the podcast, like first, like I was like all the way to the side. I had that like the brim of my hat, like you couldn't even see my eyes. And then I started to slowly, and then I like turned it backwards, and then I went forwards, and I'm like, all right, and now I'm gonna add my name, Steve.
Yes, you know,
I've been inching my way towards like revealing myself to people. So
yes, well, hopefully you won't reveal all of yourself.
no, I will not.
But I mean, you know, Patricia and I have never been anonymous. I mean, at least when it comes to Twitter, YouTube, like all that stuff, other than on, you know, I guess the boards a long time ago.
I was in the beginning. I mean, I didn't have my picture, and then everybody would call me Keystone, 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 and then you would always say, "Hey, Patricia, this and that," and nobody would know who is that, right? Because they only knew Keystone, and now I'm glad it's my name because, yeah, my name is not Keystone; it's just the Keystone Channel. So I'm glad. So, and let me say hi to Dennis in the chat. Good to see you there on YouTube. And up three, Brooke, good to see you too. And Lucy in the Sky, I see you there. And Kate.
Yes. Hi, guys. So yeah, I mean, you just went into streaming not too long ago, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know, that you are putting yourself out there kind of freshly. It hasn't been too long. So what has your experience been so far?
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, maybe like 4 months now. I was scared, you know what, in the beginning. Like, it's scary. It's really scary, especially if you're not comfortable being in front of the camera, which I've told my audience several times, like it's not my thing.
Yeah.
You know, so why would you do that, Steve? Like we all know, like I just felt called to do it. You know, my X account's been growing, and I started being asked to come on other people's shows, and it just felt like I was being pushed in that direction, and I just said screw it and went.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my first few shows were terrible, and I've had some terrible ones still along the way, but I get better and better, more and more comfortable. After a while, you don't really care as far as how many people are watching. I mean, actually, now I get more stressed out if there's not a lot of people watching.
Yeah. Well,
it is scary in the beginning, right? I mean, we all have that, but then once you get used to it, it's like you don't even notice anymore there's a camera.
Right.
For sure. But I think it's also a lot of us, you know, I think that is pretty common. I think we would all agree. We all experience that kind of pull in this direction, despite being like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You know, having things to lose and people looking down their nose at you and everybody having their opinions and, you know, having to give up things in your life. Maybe people in your real life are resentful for you doing something like this because they don't understand it. Or, you know, like you were just talking about having to like carve out space where you get some quiet in from your family.
Yes.
So, but I always feel like there's this pushback also that seems to be pretty common in the beginning. It's almost like you get a lot more challenges up front when you're about to do something that is going to be helpful for the side of good. I feel like, I don't know whether it's evil being like, trying to get you to stop, or whether it's like a God thing being like, are you sure you want to do this? And really, you know, building up your chops so that you can. Yeah. So, I mean, you are still in some of the beginning phases. I mean, did you find it easy to get started and do this, or were you faced with some of those challenges?
No, not easy at all. I kept making excuses. I'd wanted to do it for a long time, and what's his name? Live Free or Die, is it Scott? I think his name is. You know what I'm talking about? He goes by Live Free or Die.
I know Live Free or Die. I don't know if I know
Yeah,
his.
yeah, I believe his name is Scott. Like he tried pushing me to he tried motivating me, and I just wouldn't allow him to motivate me anymore. I just wasn't ready. And then probably months later, Rambo asked me if I wanted to do a show with him, and I just at that moment I just yes, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, it certainly helps when you've got people that are already doing it and doing a good job at it, have your back.
Yeah,
And
if I didn't have people that are already doing it out there to support and push me, I don't think I would have done it on my own, or at least not yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's the beauty of this community too. Well, at least, some of the community, not all I'll say, but a lot of the community I know, like Rambo and Abs, and we all kind of encourage people if they are feeling called to do this, because there shouldn't be any competition. We have to grow.
Right.
There are millions and millions of people that we still have to reach. It's not like we have reached the extent of that by any means. And also, kind of, there are strength in numbers as well, because a couple of years ago it was scary to be out there with your name in your face, because who knew what people were going to do. But now that there are so many people out here that are putting themselves out there, it does make it a little bit safer.
Yeah. Definitely. And you've been one of my supporters too behind the scenes. I really appreciate everything you've done for me as well, Kate.
Well, I mean, and vice versa. You've been very kind to me. I mean, this is a really beautiful community in terms of people having each other's backs, and we are all unified by some really important stuff, sticking up for the little guy and justice, and of course, this just all of the basically kind of what we're going to get into today, that this is a battle between good versus evil, and that good versus evil isn't just represented on the world scale when it comes to government and their treatment of us, or the powers that be. It also permeates into our personal lives. And so while a lot of us got into this, probably most of us got into this because there was we saw injustice and we wanted to stand up for what's right. And at first there's not so much to lose, especially if you're kind of an anonymous account. You can lend your voice and you can be a part of it that way. But when you start to really put yourself out there, then there can be a toll in your personal life. And we do all kind of bond over that stuff because it's not as easy as it looks.
True.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I've said to you before, like, I think I don't know. I basically assumed it was really like easy for you, and you were like, I still get nervous. I'm like, what do you mean you get nervous? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like you look like a natural at it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think for me, the thing that saved me, well, first of all, I started off doing pre-recorded scripted videos. Oh my God. I mean, some of them I think are still out there. I cringe. My butt cheeks clench. Every bit of it I hate. So, and I would have, excuse me, thought that through over and over and over again, and it would have stopped me from just moving forward. It wasn't until I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say things wrong. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to drool sometimes when I go to speak. Like, it just is going to happen. I had to let it go. I had to humble myself a little bit and just embrace the fact that I am just a real person that's sitting here in front of a camera in my bedroom and sharing just what I can with people. And I had to make it about that rather than trying to be some polished professional, which I obviously clearly was not.
And obviously you guys know this, and it's something I've learned early on, because I guess I'll call myself a perfectionist. So I would get really upset with myself if I screwed up or whatever. And each time I screwed up, if I would mention it to anybody, like in the comments afterwards, like it was nothing but positive. Like, I think they appreciate it.
Yeah.
They don't want somebody that's all polished and stuffy, and it's.
Yeah, I started.
This is real and authentic. This is us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. It is about, and I do think, I noticed the ones that I actually came in quickly, just put it on because I have to go live, etc. those were the best shows that I had no plan whatsoever. All those that I had a plan, they just fell down for me and also in viewers. So eventually it's all about, just showing up. And I mean, I'm still nervous too. I haven't had stream since October 2023, and then decided to start this Dark Night of the Soul, and then Kate joining, and we're doing it together. And I'm like, oh, thank God, don't have to do it by myself, and let's do it together. And then now I just have to figure out a show that I can do by myself. Kate is still doing one by herself as well, and she's kicking me in the butt as well to come back. And here we are. So it's never easy, but at the end, if it's all about consistency, really.
I think there's such a draw right now to just authenticity. People are sick of being lied to. And some of that just kind of comes with, I think people are starting to realize more and more that the alternative media space, especially in, let's say, the MAGA realm, there's a lot more money than people thought at first. And when there's a lot of money involved in something, then we are kind of going back to repeating history. And so, there are some of those alternative medias that they are more polished. They have the big names behind them. And I think they still appreciate that stuff, but they want to know who they're listening to. They want to know stuff about your personal life. Some of those people that I'm talking about on like the polished MAGA side, they live in multi-million-dollar homes, where people want to connect with people that they can relate to. Not a lot of us can relate to living in a multi-million-dollar home. And we know that we're getting authentic voices when it's just regular people. Now, we also know that there's infiltration, and there probably are people that are pretending to be just the average Joe, but who knows who's funding them. That's a big problem. But I like to be able to, even though if there's a screen in between us, when I'm watching somebody's content, I want to look at their face. I want to see their facial expressions, kind of look them in the eye, get a gauge for who they are as a person. And yeah, if your kids are in the background making noise, or your dog comes in, or, you spill coffee. This is real life stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's the fun stuff, actually, because I don't know if remember, like way back when Red Pill started and his dog started attacking under the table.
Yes,
I mean, yeah, that was absolutely very funny, and
it was brilliant.
Yeah, things happen, and those are the fun parts, right? It's all about just being real and being you. So, yeah, I mean, Steve, tell us about your story. We're curious.
Starting where?
Starting at birth.
You like.
No, yeah. I mean, just whatever is relevant. I think were you always kind of red pilled, or did you wake up at some point, and what was it?
Yeah, I would say I was not always red pilled. But I always, it depends how you look at it. Like as a kid, I was always I was more of a rebel. I never just bought into anything that was told to me, even from my parents, pissed them off. I don't know, at that age, I didn't know what that meant. I just, for whatever reason, I was curious about everything, and I've always had to learn lessons the hard way. Yeah.
So you were a bad child, is what you are trying.
I wasn't I've said this before. Like, I wasn't a bad child for my parents. They thought, I don't know, I was running with people that were bad. I was like the good one of the group, but I was hanging around a bad element. That kind of started maybe like my junior year in high school. That was probably when I started I couldn't stand the cliques. Like, every high school's cliquey. Mine was really, really cliquey. I used to kind of be in the preppy crowd, and then I got to that age and I saw through their BS, and I didn't feel like I fit in there anymore. So eventually I fit in with the people that, happen to be doing drugs and doing bad things. That's just kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, then and I was always depressed, I would say, on and off. But again, I probably, it's being a teenager. But when I was in my 20s, who knows? I was labeled clinically depressed by a psychiatrist. and I've been on meds ever since, like, my early 20s. That's something I was on BB's show talking about this. I've tried to go off, like, so many times, especially, like, now, like, I've been married for 20 years. I have 3 kids. Like, I'm I'm happy overall, but then anytime I ever try to, and I've tried like every single type of medicine there is, like, anytime I ever go off, no matter how slowly, I eventually hit a brick wall. It's really
I've been there.
frustrating. Yeah.
I've
And
done it, and it's hard. It's hard, but once you know the right protocol to go through it, if you want, I can help you with it. But I've been there.
yeah.
Antidepressants, right?
It is all
Yeah.
too common, right? It's such a
Yeah.
common story.
It's such a hard medication to come off, but I had 8 attempts over 15 years, and my 8th attempt I managed, and I'm so happy I'm off them, because that's when I realized how the world was completely different than I thought. I didn't know I was in that state of a zombie. I was very much in a zombie state that I didn't know of until I got off it. So,
Yeah.
it's those medications are horrible.
Yeah.
Do you
But
feel like
then,
everything's kind of muted for you? Like the good feelings as well?
no, like, I've been on medications that did that.
Okay.
What I'm on right now, like, I have the full range of emotions. Like, like,
Oh,
I've been on
that's
the
good.
I've been on the ones where, like, you're just kind of going, like,
Right.
no, like, I feel good with what I'm on, but at the same time, well, what have we all learned now with the pharmaceutical industry? Like, I don't want to be on medication. I
Right.
don't. I don't. And I do believe, like, yes, they're too quick to diagnose people, but I also do believe there is such a thing as chemical imbalance. Some people are clinically depressed. So I don't know.
But I also think, because I'm totally with you. Once I got on antidepressants, I became a huge advocate for them, because I was like, holy shit. I was white knuckling it through life, literally, not just with depression, but anxiety as well. It was no way to live. And once I got on the
Right.
antidepressants, I was like, it made me better. It made me a better mom. It made me a better person. I had a floor underneath me, whereas before I was just flailing. But I
Right.
do wonder if that chemical imbalance is caused by things that might actually be in our control. It just takes a lot of work. So, like, getting rid of all of the poisons I mean, Stephen, you and I have actually talked about this before, like running and going back to exercising.
Yeah.
And that the real cure is, there are a lot of steps. There are a lot of steps to an actual cure, because you have to take care of yourself in every way. And it's a very scary transition, because as soon as you go off of the antidepressants to test, how you're doing,
Mhm.
you're without a life vest, and you're out in the middle of the ocean.
And I don't know how it's been for you guys in the past when you try getting off. Like, sometimes you, as the person that's going off, you don't even realize that you're kind of going into a downward spiral until it's almost feels too late.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
I had multiple. I had one where I went straight down to hell. I mean, literally thinking I'm crazy. Actually, I was crazy, kind of, because your brain is not making serotonin anymore. So I had to find supplements that could just balance out all the side effects when you quit from them. But I also had that slow one where you go down, and then eventually I did it so slowly that at the end, after 3 years, I just quit. And thankfully, the last bit, that was thanks to Kate, was the CBD oil that I used to actually get the brain zaps away, because those are the worst. But yeah, overall, yeah, I've been in all kinds of different um, states when I try to get off them, because I experimented so much. Tried the first time I tried it in 4 months. That was downright hell. Then I tried 6 months. Then I tried over a year, and eventually, it was a combination of things that got me out of it without too much issues, actually.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would say more current. So prior to Trump. So here I am, married with kids. I own a business. You know, I'm managing my depression and anxiety. Everything's, you know, I've got extracurricular stuff I do. I used to do martial arts, work out, like all the stuff. Everything was good. I was never into politics. I didn't really care. So I'm in New York. My parents are Democrat. My wife, her and her parents were conservative. So once we started getting serious, she watched Fox News. I watch Fox News. Like she votes Republican, I vote Republican. So like when I voted for Trump, I was like, all right, vote for Trump. Like, you know, but it wasn't long till he really started showing us stuff, right? And so I woke up slowly through those 4 years. Well, I would say I was waking up slowly, and then COVID. So when COVID happened, I would say that was my big red pill moment, if you want to say that. And that was really tough for me. But then it was the stolen election that kind of just put me over the edge.
Right.
You know, here I am, like loving wife. She agrees with me. We like, she saw what I saw. Like it didn't matter. I just couldn't stand what was happening. It consumed me. Her and others were like, Steve, you have to just go about your life. You can't worry about this. We can't control it. But I couldn't let it go. Let it go. And I ended up just getting, even with the meds, I didn't even change my meds or anything like that. I just got really, really, really depressed. Luckily, I found Q. And some of the awesome like videos that were put out there, like to get you pumped up. Like honestly, some of those stupid little 2-3 minute videos, the creators of those, I mean, hopefully they know like what they did. They literally got me through some days where I literally like, I was not good. But anyway, you know, I said this on, I don't know if you've seen any of her shows. I think it's called Truth Teller Tales. Her name is Ellen.
Yes, I've been actually talking to her. She's cool.
Yeah. So she interviewed me, and it was then it was actually when she was interviewing me that I realized I felt so out of control. I tried to control what I could, but I tried to control something that was stupid because it wasn't. I was convinced if I just leave my wife, things will get better. Don't really know why I thought that. Literally, like I was separated from my wife for 7 months. Left the house. All the kids were older. I didn't think that it was going to affect them the way that it did. And during those 7 months when I was on my own, I'm lucky I didn't kill myself. Honestly, I was bad, really, really bad. And then and my wife, she, other than texting, she would not talk to me. She wouldn't see me. She talked to me like it was too painful for her. But then it was my daughter's junior prom, and she wants mom and dad there for pictures. And and she said, and I want you guys to get together before then, because I don't want you seeing each other for the first time in 7 months. Like, you're not going to ruin my night type thing.
Smart kid.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I met my wife out for dinner, and it was for her too. But literally for me, the second I saw her, I was just like, what did I do? Like we had the best, like it was like almost like better than our first date, like ever.
Wow.
And we've literally been back together like ever since then.
Oh my God. I love that. I mean, I hate that you went through that, but it's kind of like Patricia and I talk on this show, all of those experiences, that dark, I mean, that was your dark night, those 7 months of that serious, serious depression and having to be stripped of the things that were important to you to get that back. You can probably see now why that had to happen.
Yeah.
In order for you to be where you are now.
But as far as like the name of your show, Dark Night of the Soul, like I'm still dealing with it. I think almost more than they are. Like, I just can't let it go. The guilt that I still feel is.
Yeah, we tend to punish ourselves quite a bit. I mean, and it comes and goes in waves, right? because I mean, I'm not out of the woods yet. Kate is not out of the woods yet. It just is a coming and going. It's just that we need to start balancing out. And especially what you said about perfectionism. I know that so well because I have the same, and criticizing myself a lot about, how I'm not doing things good enough or whatever. And also with the Great Awakening itself comes these 5 stages of grief. That's inevitable. I actually made a whole thread about that on my ex, about the Great Awakening. And at first it makes you miserable, but then once you can start seeing the truth, then you can smile about it again. But in order to get through that, it takes quite some time. And you can't be too harsh on yourself. But yeah, me saying that is quite useless because I do it with myself too.
Yeah.
We all do. We all kind of know the recipe. We know the things that we should be doing and taking care of ourselves. It's just like, it's a constant battle every day. We have this uphill battle every day because we aren't just fighting to wake up our fellow man. At the same time, we're fighting for our own health in a world where everything wants to poison us and kill us. This is a very
Right.
this is a very toxic world that we live in. It is a very hostile environment. And then on top of that, interpersonal relationships. I mean, we have a world that has been very divided for at least the last, 8 years or plus. But so that affects our family relationships, our friendship relationships. And then those of us that find each other, it's not even like it's all this kumbaya stuff, because we're all dealing with our own wounds on top of everything else. And it's very complicated. It's very hard. We get thrown into a lot of turmoil, and everyone's just trying to save themselves. It's not like we have a bunch of really strong people now to lean on. Everybody's still trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this, Kate. So, like in my household, like one part of our like love language is just like giving each other crap, like just sarcasm, and like, like when the kids were really little, my wife would literally like make fun of them and stuff, and she's like, people, you need to tough it up. Like she taught them from like even me, I was like, God, you're good. Like, that's mean. She's like, no, they need to learn. So like, anyway, we just do that. We rib on each other, and it's fun. But and I know they're almost doing it to try to probably cheer me up. But like, I can't even tell you how many times like my daughter, she'll be like, that time, you left. Remember that time you left? So it's always brought up. Seems like a couple times a week.
I've talked about this before, but I had this one night because my son's little, and he's 10 now, but like when shit was really hitting the fan was a couple years ago. He was 8. That's still a little kid, and I was really doing my best to protect him from like seeing me cry, from understanding what was going on, because I didn't want him to be scared. All this stuff. So I'm like just bottling it in. And this one night I lost my mind because I kept telling him, don't do the thing. Don't do this thing. He was messing with the dog, and he had a plate. He was eating in the living room. He had a plate of like, I don't know if it was chicken fingers or whatever, but there was like a cup of ranch, and he was doing something with the dog, and they were getting close to the plate. I said, River, stop doing that. River, stop doing that. And then of course the plate goes flying. Ranch dressing ranch dressing kind of makes me gag. It's like one of those things where it makes me gag. All over my ceiling, all over my couch, all over the rug, all over everything. It was just like ranch exploded. And I like stood up from the couch, and I grabbed my face, and I just collapsed like down into my knees, and I screamed. And then I just like got up, and I started frantically cleaning the ranch, and my poor kid stood there. He's never seen me like that before. And he was just like white as a ghost. And he was just staring at me. He's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. Mom, I'm so sorry. You can ground me. I'm so sorry. I will do anything. Are you okay? Are you okay? And so I was so ashamed of that moment that he saw me just like scream and literally just lose my mind. And I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, no, that's a good thing. He needs to know that you're vulnerable. He needs to see sometimes that that it's hard for them, but he's going to see you get out on the other side of that. And that's an important lesson for him. But my son still to this day will be like, remember that time you lost your mind? And I'm like, yes. But the fact that your daughter can say that to you is such a blessing, truly, because it shows she trusts you enough to confront it. There's nothing worse than in a family having unspoken things, the stuff that like we don't want to talk about, right?
Yep. That's actually how my relationship with my parents is. Like that's kind of how we grew up, holding stuff in.
Yeah. That's a poison.
Yeah. I think that's I mean, very recognizable, especially with Gen X. Everything swept under the rug and just smile and pretend nothing is going on. I think many of us have been through that, but and this is why you guys have children, so you can do it differently. I don't have children, so I can't, but it doesn't matter. But that's important, and I see that with the new generations are so different, and you get to do it differently. That's the whole purpose of it, isn't it?
Well, and the fact that you have your wife who has a different parenting style than you do, and you're kind of learning from her as well. I mean, I think it's good to me, the like picking on each other or ribbing each other when it comes from love, all what you're doing is you're sending the message to your children to have a sense of humor about themselves, to humble themselves, to not take themselves so seriously, which honestly, I think is one of the greatest strengths that we can have as a human being, is to not take ourselves so seriously.
Yeah. Life is serious enough on its own.
Exactly. I was just having this conversation with somebody because we were talking about, like, I don't know, drama going on, or people kind of just creating drama and not really being super nice to people. And I'm just like, isn't life hard enough? Isn't life hard enough without making it more difficult on each other? There really do seem to be people that just exist to kind of create problems. But if you look at it through the lens of what Patricia and I talk about on the show, it's almost like those people exist not to punish us, not because God hates us, not because they're demons, or there might be some element of that, I don't know, but because they are literally here to force us to grow and learn and expand ourselves. If we didn't have any challenges, we wouldn't have any growth.
Right. Agreed. Definitely agree with that.
But sometimes, as you know, the poison can come from within. We can be our own worst enemy. Those dark feelings that you're battling, it doesn't necessarily take someone on the outside to be torturing you. Sometimes that torture comes from within us. And, it's interesting. You got diagnosed when you were in your 20s, you said, but that you probably, when you were like a teenager, started to feel that way.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's why I used to enjoy self-medicating.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, also there was, everyone else is doing it. Like, I'm also like a dumb teenage boy. So,
but that's another thing that I do see within the Great Awakening as well. Many people actually, I saw that at the time, I was in the chance, Q was there and everything. And I saw so many people getting sober, getting off drugs, getting off alcohol. It really was a whole journey for so many people, including myself. I was like full on medication. And I just saw so many people that said, I just got sober last week, and then Q, I was in the chance, right? So then Q would say, oh, good, and or people would always applaud them, and everybody was encouraging each other to just go the straight path, and it was so beautiful to see. And it was tough too, but and still till today I see people getting sober, and so many people were on drugs or alcohol, whatnot, that came in. But I guess we were not the person that you call the round thing in the square.
Oh, square peg in a round hole.
There you go.
That one. Right. I do think a lot of us are loners because we tend to be introverted when, depressions and all that stuff, more sensitive. But at the same time, maybe it is all because we need to learn to, be in communities and work together. And it's so hard if you've been a loner for so long to, just trust.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were on the chans. Kate, were you on the Chans?
A little bit. When I found out about Q, that's kind of the only place that you could go and find them. There wasn't a whole lot yet on Twitter or anything else. So I had to learn how to get on there in the first place. But I wasn't really a poster. I think I posted maybe like 3 times because I could never get past the CAPTCHA. I still to this day don't really know how to use it. But but I observed for sure. And it was a very dark world. And that's what is so interesting to me about this is, like you said, this movement has pushed people towards God. It has done all these wonderful things, made people get off of drugs and alcohol. And I think it's very interesting that it took all these depressed people actually seeing how bad things really are to then kind of become better, to actually motivate to be better themselves. It's almost like they were confronting it for the first time. Like we low-key all knew how evil our world was, but we didn't have a way to describe it, or we didn't have a way to express it or really say. We just kind of had this feeling that things were really, really messed up. And then to almost see it and know that we were right is a little bit freeing.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys know I wasn't around back then.
Right.
It's crazy it's a crazy thought that there were so many of you. It's so many people, thousands and thousands of people that were on like the Chan boards, like before Q was even there, like all these like, loners or whatever you want, like, and Q brought you guys all together, like literally, like,
Yeah, it's
there's no other group of people that they could have done that op with.
That's so true.
It is true.
I was in there when literally the first Q drop fell in front of my face.
Are you serious?
And yes, I was already in there because there was the FBI on, and so I was in there and I was like nerding out, and because me having the agoraphobia, not being around people at all, I was just online, and so I was there, and that first drop just fell right in front of my nose. And then I saw somebody in the chat, thank you there, being a baker. I was a baker there, and then I actually set up a whole group for people to explain how the Chans work, and it's still till today. It's there. It's I can't remember what I called it at the time, but it's still there where you can actually check how to post and whatever. And it was really fun, and I stayed in there like for 1.5 years straight, to the point that on 2 hours sleep a night, having burnouts and all that stuff. But it was so much fun, and it felt like really I did belong to something. And that's how, for me, I came into eventually Reddit, and from there I went into Twitter, and that's how I got to know all of you, so to speak. But we all have our own paths, but it doesn't matter whether you came in first or late. The point is you came in, and that is all that matters, because you were supposed to be there.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah, that whole world was very different. And, you had a bunch of people who were dot connectors. These were people that liked puzzles. They liked solving things. There was, it kind of squelched the ego because everybody is literally anonymous. You're not even an avatar. You're just a number. And it was funny watching the women try to adjust to that, because women just they're just used to being treated a certain way. And so that's why that whole like T or, get the F out thing started to happen, because women like couldn't help it. They were like bursting at the seams. They needed you to know that they were a woman, because they would like say something and it would get no attention. And they were like, well, but wait a second. I'm so used to getting told, that I'm brilliant, or having people react, and nobody cares. All they care about is the information. But there was also this competition with trying to be the smartest, because it was a very intellectual space. So you put something in there and you get it wrong, everybody's in there to correct you. So it was a really great way for information to flow freely and get checked and double checked, because everybody wanted to be the one to prove your information wrong and show how smart they were at being able to like, prove you wrong or triangulate your location based on a plane in the sky or whatever it was. It was the Wild West of the internet.
I never thought about that before. Like, I was guilty of it as well. How like so many people just, when you looked at an anonymous account, you just assumed it was a guy. Like Red Pill Pharmacist. I learned like last year that like she was a female. It was a female. I always thought that
it's not
was
just a female. She's a hot female, and I'm like, you're such a badass,
Yeah, that's so true. In the chance, I mean, I never had that whole. Maybe because I'm from Europe, we don't have that much. I mean, maybe from the Netherlands, because we don't have a lot of hierarchy here or men versus women at all. We're all equal. So for me, it was just fun. And whether somebody would mix me up with a dude, which everybody was assumed a dude in the chance, but I didn't care. I mean, I found it, and I think it was on purpose, the whole anonymous thing, because you could be scrutinized about what you would put out. And that was the beauty of it, because it's not taken personal, because you're just a number. And, in the next thread, you have another number, so nobody cares. And it was beautiful for everybody to let go of their ego, because there is no ego if you're just a number, right? And I think that was brilliant.
It was also, if you think about it, at the time, we were kind of at the height of this PC culture where people were getting canceled for, something they tweeted in 2012 or whatever that was just slightly insensitive. And then here you had the boards, which was like completely in the opposite direction. It was so foul. It was so racist and sexist and ugly and gross and porn and all that stuff. You literally had to be desensitized to it. And if anybody started to chime in to police somebody else's whatever it was, they became roadkill in there. You better not say anything about the way that I speak or the awful things that I say. And so it was a very interesting dynamic, but I think it was necessary in order to snap people out of what they were being conditioned to in the real world, which was this PC culture of, I don't care what your heart and your intentions are. If you speak out of line, I'm going to parse all of your words and we're going to find a way to cancel you.
Right.
Just isn't that crazy? Like when you really stop and think about it though, like the military was like, these are the people we need to, they're going to help save this country.
Yes.
The world.
Yes. I mean, but it makes so much sense because it really was, excuse me, a bunch of brilliant minds. And sorry, like a lot of brilliant minds are a little bit tweaked. They're a little bit messed up, especially probably because the world is so screwed up. It's almost like, to be well adjusted to a sick society, what does that say about you? These are the people that were not well adjusted. They escaped to these private boardrooms, message boards, because it was the only place that they could actually speak their minds and be themselves, because everywhere else they were getting canceled. And, I happen to think that a lot of that, the gore, the porn, the racist stuff, I really think that was an infiltration of sorts to kind of paint the community in a way that made everybody look like monsters. Or, just give them things to talk about. Oh, look at this group of, worldwide Nazis that are getting together and talking about this stuff. It was a way to negate all of the brilliant research that was going on.
I think it was just people being people. I mean, like we called everybody fag and gay, and or is that, oh, I love you, no homo, and I would just chime in with it. It's the same way. And, the stuff that they posted, I found it really funny. But then, maybe I grew up with a lot of men in my family. So I'm quite used to all that stuff. And for me, it was just fun. There were obviously a lot of there was a lot of porn in there as well, but also a lot of racism. But you remember at the time, like a long time ago, we could still actually laugh about stuff. I mean, in there we could, and that vanished around the COVID time. That all vanished because now we have to be offended about everything, and I'm like, yeah, humor, a sense of humor just is gone out of the window. It starts to come back a little bit now, but it went out of the window completely during the COVID period. And that was the beauty of the chance, I think, because we could be ourselves without, a joke was a joke instead of,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I grew up around a lot of guys as well and had a lot of gay friends. And my gay friends were not sensitive people. They weren't, pearl clutchers over that stuff. It was exactly that. Jokes are jokes. We should be able to make fun of anything and anyone. That's what the beauty of South Park was. South Park makes fun of everybody. And so you have to not be a pearl clutcher and realize that it's humor, and we should have a lighter sense of humor about everything. And that was when Saturday Night Live lost its edge as far as being funny, when instead of, making fun of everybody from a lightheartedness, it became hatred against one side. And that's no longer funny. If words are coming from vitriol, they're no longer funny. It has to come from an actual sense of humor. So I liked that it was, it obviously went in an opposite direction. And you're right, like there's terminology that we even used off of the boards just because we were so used to it. That is like, you don't say in polite society. But none of us, it didn't make us,
burning fags, like you just
exactly. Exactly. But like it didn't make you, you didn't suddenly hate gay people because you're seeing that word over and over again. And if anything, I remember, particularly about race. Growing up in the 80s, it almost seemed like we were almost there. You had the Cosby Show was the #1 show on TV. It wasn't a black show, and it wasn't a show about a black family. It was just a show about a family. And, you wanted to be friends with them. You wanted them to be your parents, and I feel like we had made a lot of headway, especially from the 60s to the 80s, as far as racial relations and things like that. And then it was the oversensitivity. And it's like they did that to us. They started to pit us against each other again in the 90s under the guise of activism. And they started to, victimize and all of that stuff. And it actually started to make it, you were like hyper aware now of race, which I think is actually a bad thing. I think, I think that it should just be like as meaningless as somebody's eye color. But suddenly it was like right in the forefront of every single topic. And this is what we're talking about on the cover of newspapers, and all of the talk shows are covering this stuff like that. And it actually did us a big disservice to where we started to go backwards. And I think that was intentional.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting that we've had these kind of places to, I mean, even Reddit, like there was some stuff. I was actually more on Reddit, I think at the time, what was that? The Donald room.
There was in the Great Awakening room.
The Great Awakening and the Donald were both on Reddit. But then we got that taken away from us because it was deemed racist, because they started putting, probably a bunch of feds. In fact, one of my favorite things, I used to talk about this a lot, was, and I'm going to probably screw it up, but I've done, I think, threads on this before, and I've covered it on my shows. The FBI started to target the boards, and I don't remember if it was 4chan or 8chan or whatever, but they were just trying to target it and say, look at this hive of extremists. We need to take this down, because now they're starting to organize or whatever. And so they had these examples of like racist comments. And in one of their examples, you can see, the number for, first of all, you can see that next to the number, which is like the serial number that everyone gets when they post something, it has the YOU in brackets. That means that whoever took that screenshot wrote the post. So some Fed went in there, was like, oh yeah, and they don't know enough about the boards to know that when they took that screenshot to enter it into evidence, it proves that they're the ones that wrote it. And then people were able to go back and take that serial number, see everything else that this person posted, and they were in there instigating and provoking things and saying all kinds of terrible shit. And that was one of them. And I thought that was hysterical, because they got busted.
They're not very smart.
No.
it was good times though.
It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Now that you're, Steve, going through all of these things, and because you weren't there during that time, what was your process like like with learning about Q, and where did you go to learn about it and find all of this stuff?
Yeah. So, yeah, I keep going back and forth. I don't remember if I had a Twitter account before, before the inauguration. If I did, though, I wasn't posting. I was just kind of lurking. But I think it was my wife. So my wife's the one that came across the Plan to Save the World video. That was where I found out about Q. And then I think she was the one that was actually doing like the research in the beginning. It wasn't me. I was just like, like she was at least trying to figure out what was going on. And then so yeah, I think she was the one that came across Telegram. And honestly came across We the Media. So it was the We the Media Telegram channel. That was like where I first went to learn about all that stuff.
I hear this now a lot. Same thing with Craig, IET. His wife was the one that was like red pilled and finding the stuff and got him into it. So a lot of the men that I know have the same story, where it was their wives who actually were in this community. From my experience, when I had a YouTube channel and there were the analytics, and then also like my experience with going to conferences, throwing conferences, this community is actually primarily female. And I don't really know how to explain that, other than I think COVID motivated the mothers a lot during that time. Maybe you have more kind of stay-at-home wives or stay-at-home moms that are have the ability to do the research while the men are, going to work. I don't really know how to explain it, but it does seem like a lot of the women activated early and got their husbands on board. And then, you all also are very, very lucky in the sense that you have her and that she's on the same page with you, because a lot of people did lose their marriages and didn't have that.
Yeah.
I to this day, like I get comments in my replies a lot. I wish my hubby would listen to me, like things like there's still, there's a lot of married couples out there who still have one spouse that's not woken up. That's got to be so difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. Like my relationship just with my parents is not as close as I would like it to be, just because it drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well, from my experience, sometimes the people who you think will be the last to wake up actually, just don't give up hope, because you really never know. Sometimes people that are just kind of there take forever. And sometimes the people that seem the furthest away have a very rapid awakening, where it's just like all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know why, but that's it. I don't know why, but I am like suddenly awake now. So don't get discouraged thinking that there are people in your life that are hopeless as far as being on the same page with them ever again, because you really never know.
Yeah. I woke up my mom 5 years ago. She's 80 now. And she sends me now. I'm not even into the politics and the Q anymore. Obviously, I look at it, I see it, I'm well aware of it, I'm known with it. But there is a whole new group of people that woke up later that are now still motivated to wake people up, or at least put out the truth. I've done this for so many years. I was like, I couldn't be bothered anymore. But we then do other things. But then there's a whole new group of people like yourself, who then wake up other people again that wake up now. And so that's the beauty of it. It just goes on and on. It's like never ending until everybody is awake. And even you 5 years from now will find a lot of people that are just waking up. And
oh God, I hope not. Jeez Louise.
Well, it could be, but obviously I don't want to be a pessimist, but a lot of people are now like awake. But then those that are not, eventually those are the ones that probably will quickly switch. I've seen this as well, like 5 years ago, like I said, with my mom, and she's now 80, and she's the one now sending me all the news articles, and I'm like, yeah, mom, I don't care. I just don't care.
It's
You
true.
know, but for her, it's so exciting still because she's so, yeah, she just, is awake 5 years, so she's still digging into all that stuff, and that's why it's nice to have people that are newly awake, have other people to look up to again,
Yeah.
for their news, and because it's so fresh, because you do get burned out with it. I mean, I've been at it since 2016, and I'm not young anymore.
Yeah. I for those of us that are into Q, I think it's important to post about other stuff other than just Q. Because I don't,
Absolutely.
the people that are still asleep, I don't think we're going to wake them up with Q. But
No.
we can wake them up with the things that we've learned. We can wake them up with the truth. But to be like, okay, there's this, military civilian, like you can't just go into the plan with trying
Right.
to wake somebody up right now.
No, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we were like, like, plus you guys can learn from our mistakes. We were balls to the wall with it. And we put our reputations on the line to be like, oh, see, because we were so sure that we saw what was happening. We were so sure that we saw what was coming. And a lot of us were out there assuring all of our friends and family, oh, Biden's never, I mean, yeah, I know that's what it looks like, that he's going to be our president, but there's no way that the time is going to come and he's actually going to get sworn in. Even that day, I was literally sitting there waiting for helicopters to like drop out of the sky and for like big arrests to happen. And I felt like an idiot. I mean, that is one of the best ways. It's so sad because if I got a job today as some kind of like if it was my job to run ops to screw up this community, I know exactly how to do it because I've seen I mean, whether they were ops on us or not, I have seen what's been effective, what has effectively worked against us. And one of the things is building up people's hope and then crushing it repeatedly. Nothing will make somebody lose hope faster than having their hopes up and then crushing it, because then you just learn, well, okay, screw it. I'm not going to, like, I'm just going to tune out, or I just can't care. And on one hand, we have built up a lot of resilience, but on the other hand, if it was a plan, it was a brilliant plan to make us, I don't know, really kind of give up. I don't think any of us would have signed on for this if we had known how long this was going to take, and that we would be sitting here however many years later and still not really know for sure, or really not have like everything that we had hoped and dreamed for. But that's why this is a relay race. And that's why you come in with, your freshness and your not jadedness. And you can speak to people from that standpoint.
I know you had our friend Beer at the Parade on your show last week, yeah. I think. So I don't know if he said it on your show, but he said it he said it on one of my shows that Q made damn sure that you guys were all going to get it wrong for 4 years straight. Yeah. Like, and he also told a story of when the Q drop started coming down. He said to his wife something like, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off and like see this thing through. Like he thought it was going to be over in like 2 weeks.
Oh my God, I love that.
Can you imagine that? You think it's going to be over in a couple of weeks, and it's like
we did though. I mean, like I came on in 2019. I think it was like the Allison Mack stuff, and I was literally saying to my mom, it's all happening,
it's happening. Yeah.
Exactly. And, just like Patricia's mom, now it's my mom and my sister who thought I was crazy back then, but they're like all into it now and whatever. But yeah, that's kind of hysterical.
But also when we started with in the chat, when the first Q drop fell, I think we were with about 100 people in there. And I swear within no time, within 24 hours, it was over a few 100,000. Within a month, we were over 1 million, and it was crazy. It was all hands on deck, and it was so insane. But and we were like, oh, let's just work as hard as we can in case it's gonna stop tomorrow. Right. And then it went on and on and on. I mean, to loads of people had a burnout being in there. So I totally understand what Beer is saying, because I had kind of the same, because I was so on top of it. We're like 2 hours sleep, let's get back to it, right? Night shift, day shift. And yeah, so that lasted way more longer than we expected.
Yeah,
But
it was literally, I would wake up in the morning, and before my eyes were all the way open, I had my phone like this, waiting to see if there were Q drops.
Were there any aggregators back then? Was it like something like Q alerts back then, or
there
you had to go on the boards?
No, in the beginning, not. We just had a board, so it was just, you just stayed on it, and then one drop, and it was quick. It went quick in the beginning, right? Because it was one drop after the other, and then somebody was so brilliant to make the app, and yeah, we'll never forget that. And then they took it off, the app stores. But I had it on for a long, long time, but then I changed phones, couldn't have it back on.
Yeah, I still have it on my phone, but obviously it doesn't work anymore. But yeah, those aggregators were brilliant, because you could teach somebody how to use the aggregator, but you couldn't teach people how to use. I mean, I remember I had a friend back then who was a very smart, kind of techie young guy who I tried to teach him how to use the boards, and he was like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It was just like, it was intentionally, I think, impossible to use, because they didn't want all the riffraff on there. They wanted it to be, I don't know. It was like an IQ test.
I think also
what was it that was so difficult about it?
For me, I mean, it's just the interface of it is not very clear. If you don't know exactly where you're going, like I had to have a link, and this is part of the reason I don't go back. I had to have a link saved on my computer to even get back to where the boards were. Because if you just put me straight on the main page, I'm not finding the boards. And then on top of it, it just wasn't pretty. It was just very bare bones. And you just had to learn how to, there's no search feature, or
there is, but
there was,
yeah, it's difficult. And also the posting itself, there was a lot of shit posting in between, so it gets really confusing, right? That you don't know, like, well, what am I doing here, right? What's going on here? In the meantime, there's like hundreds of people are researching this part. There's hundreds of people researching this part. And yet, if you're there all day long, you see exactly who you're interacting with, even though they're anonymous. It's because we're responding to each other. And so we can see that. But you definitely need to be in there like all day long in order not to get confused. And once you got the hang of it, then it was just easy. You could take 3 days off and just jump back in, and then you could go back to the different boards there, because every board had like 750 messages. And then there were the bakers. I was one of them, and we would archive everything on the top of each board, and then you could just easily go away for a day, and then you could catch up with everything that happened in the past days. So, but you needed to understand it. It was not easy for somebody that just fell into it, brand new. It was difficult.
You had breads, which were the threads, but they only held a certain amount of messages. So you had to find the right bread. And once one bread was like about to run up, a new one would get created. So if you went to the main page, you have all these different breads, and you're like, okay, but which is the one that I'm looking for, and which is the most recent, and where are people talking? And it was just, it's just not very user-friendly at all. But I think it's kind of intentionally like that.
True.
Yeah. Hey, BB.
It wasn't for everybody.
Oh, hey, BB. Yeah, I mean, I often do wonder if Q were to ever come back, would they go back to the boards? So the boards I know still exist, but is it 4chan, 8chan? Like, what is it that is?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
8kun is what's up right now.
I have no idea, honestly. And then
but we have some great aggregators now.
True.
Exactly.
Exactly. We have, I think Q Alerts is still there, but I usually use QAG. But yeah, so it wouldn't be as imperative to know how to use the boards.
No, but the thing is that like when you go to the board, sometimes it matters what people are responding with and what Q was responding to. So like, if for the context, but like now everything is, I happen to be in the camp of thinking that the last drops might not have been authentic.
Right.
I really don't know. I wouldn't stake my life on it either way, but I do think that there was something about them that seemed off. And I don't know enough about how those sites work to know if it's possible to fake it. Like I know that there was some kind of trip code stuff. I don't exactly understand how those get verified. I never understood that. So I don't know if they came back, how they would be able to be authenticated as being the original Q, but it would make me a little bit, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Q coming back because I think at this point they have been so almost deified that we run the risk of having people just follow it blindly. And that's kind of the antithesis of why they even created that in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, if he comes back, then we will know, and you know, it will show in some form, you know, because certain things that was the beauty of the trip code as well, and we knew when somebody was fake and not. So I assume they are intelligent enough to let us know, and the people are intelligent enough to know the difference as well. So yeah, we'll see. But I don't think it really matters anymore because everything is out in the open. And if we want, we can find the truth, right?
Quite honestly, like Dan Scavino, like for me, it's almost like he does Q posts like all day. I feel like so many of his posts are like so cryptic and in the same in the same manner of as the Q drops.
Yes.
I'm not saying he was Q, but yeah, I love his posts.
I do too, and I definitely think he was definitely one of the Q posters. Sure. But yeah, at this point, I think it would have to either come back through Scavino or Trump, and not be an anonymous thing and be an actual, just straightforward post. But can you imagine if Trump or Scavino just started going balls to the wall and posting about all of this crazy stuff just out in the open, no more coded messages, no more being cutesy. Oh, gee, I don't know what this means, but this is an interesting meme. Like, just give it to us. I don't know if that's ever coming or not.
You know, like Steve says, is like, I see that as well with Scavino being blatant about it, right? Certain posts that he does. I'm thinking, yeah, he definitely knows. Well, obviously he knows, but I mean, he definitely is teasing with it, with his posts.
Yeah, that's why you know that it was legitimate, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't do that. If it was just some wackadoodle that got somehow this huge portion of not only the world, but mostly Trump's base. Like, this is a huge part of Trump's base. It is their job to understand what the people that support Trump, what they think, what they believe. And if they're all being manipulated into thinking that this thing isn't, but also they couldn't find who posted it. Some of the inside comms, like pictures within the Oval Office or on Air Force One, you think some like intern or anybody is just going to be able to do that and they're not going to know who it is and there's not going to be any ramifications for that? Absolutely not. So logic tells us that it was someone within, at least one person within Trump's inner circle that had literally physically in the same proximity as him. So there's got to be, they definitely would have figured it out by now. And there are all these cheeky nods let me know that they're definitely playing into it, and they definitely want us. They know that we are picking apart everything that they post like that and looking at it through the lens of Q. So they wouldn't play with us like that unless there was a good reason, unless it was real.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Trump goes on these tears where he'll retruth like 30, 40, like 50 Q type accounts, like spiritual Street Fighter. She's had like, I don't even know how many dozens of her incredible memes shared by him, especially ones with Q plus. Like That's crazy. I mean, he wouldn't do that
No.
if it was BS. And then I love there's like so many people that, you know, the likelihood that they're like part of Q Team is very unlikely, but somehow they're read in to some extent. Cause what's that one guy's name? Kevin Cork, maybe?
Oh, Kevin
Right,
Cork.
Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, Abs's wife. Like, how many times has she got him to wear like a certain color tie? That's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I do chat with him at times, but he never gives anything away though. But yeah, we always wish each other happy birthday and stuff. But
Oh, that's cute.
yeah, he's definitely somebody interesting. You know,
Well, I don't think he's necessarily read in though. Like he could just have gone through it like the rest of us did,
Yeah.
you know, all of that stuff. But he definitely believes it. And that's interesting to me. It was also interesting when I finally got my Twitter account back. Because remember, I started the Kate Awakening Twitter account that I have. I started like a little while after I woke up because I just left my old Twitter in the dust because I didn't want everyone to see all this wacky stuff that I was posting. And then so that was what, 2019 maybe is when I started that account, or 2018, I don't remember. And then we got nuked in 2020 or 2021. I always forget. It was 2021 was the Twitter
yeah,
version?
2021.
2021. Okay, so just a couple years.
I mean, some people got nuked before then, but it was January 6th, right? Or
January 7th,
or
yeah.
was it the day after that everybody got?
Yeah, it was January 7th, which is my birthday. But so so it was only a couple years. But anyway, when I finally got my account back and I looked through, I can't remember what I was looking at, but I looked through and saw some of the accounts that followed me. And I was like, wow, like, you know, Dan Bongino, for whatever reason, followed me. And shit. Like all these people that were, and all I was a Q person. I didn't post, you know, anything. There was no explanation for why these people, and there were like 56 people. I remember I went through it with somebody else and we were looking at all these people that followed me and I was like, what the heck? This is insane. And so, I mean, if Q was fake and stupid, that's literally all I talked about. So why would they follow me? Why would they like lend credence to, why would they care what I was talking about?
Yeah, right. I had the same, and I was just, and I didn't even have a lot of followers like you guys have. I mean, but I had like General Flynn following me, Kevin Cork, and every time I lost about 15 accounts, and then I got just another one. I mean, again, they would follow me, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But you know, I would just do my thing anyway, and yeah. I never cared much about the followers itself, but it was always interesting to see, like, you know, how does this person actually gets to find me? I only had like my most followers that I had probably was about 10,000, 11,000 followers, and that was it. And yet those people followed me. And I was like, how? Right? Because I even came late on the scene on Twitter because I was always on the chance. So I always felt like they even knew who we were within the chance. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because, you know, I got queued way before it got cool, way before it was like on Twitter, but I was anonymous. So what are you going to do? Right. He just picked up my post and just made a post about it. And so, you know, we weren't like, oh, I got queued. That came all later. And to my annoyance, because, you know, people started making like a big deal out of it, like kind of a celebrity status out of it. And I don't think that was ever meant to happen that way.
I don't see how they wouldn't have. I mean, they knew at some point that it was happening and they kept doing it. So, you know, looking back on it, there were some people, it felt at the time like they were putting their stamp of approval on some of these people. But looking back on it now, some of the people that got queued were absolutely pieces of shit. So, you know, there was no rhyme or reason other than they were just posting what the people that were talking about it, right? These are the people that are talking about Q and getting eyes on it, whether they were good, bad, whatever. But I would love for Q to come back and clarify some of that stuff and be like, those were not endorsements, because a lot of people got away with making it sound like they had their Q stamp of approval just because they were cute. So
I always thought it was very interesting that one of the first accounts on Truth Social was that Q account, and like Devin Nunez followed it and everything.
And verified.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, why would they do that? They know what they're doing.
Right. And to your point, Patricia, it makes sense that they kind of knew who you guys were in the boards. I mean, if that's where they went to drop all this intelligence, that they clearly wanted to get to know.
And it was international. I mean, Australia. I mean, it was literally Europe, Australia, Asia, and America. And then you could also see a bit some people had the flag from their country, wherever they came from, at first. And then they actually dumped that. But at a certain point, you knew by the night shift what part of the world would wake up and they would say good morning, and you knew, oh, that's somebody in Asia, because it's morning in Asia, we know, right? And so that one, but it was so international, it was so beautiful. It was literally, for me, it was literally a coming together of the whole world all at once. I know a lot of people thought it was all in the US, but it wasn't. It was so many people, and I do believe a lot of people internationally had a hand in helping as well with getting Trump reelected. I mean, so many people over the world are patriots and MAGA, and obviously it's not very well recognized, but it is there. And it's beautiful, because for us, it's important as well here in Europe, or whether you're in Australia or Asia. Remember when we had the Q flags, like they were posted as well on the boards from all over the world. People would be with these signs it was so beautiful. It was very special.
Yeah, it was a great time. And I would love to get that excitement back. But also, this community is such a mess that I wonder, and it makes me worry. What would it be like right now if Q was if there were Q drops, and like where would people turn, and would they go back to letting other people decode everything for them and kind of do what the opposite of what Q was trying to do? And what Q did was wake all of us up. Yes, we helped each other, and yes, you have people decoding, and yes, you have people that are paying more attention to it so that they can help each other. But we also know that we had a ton of infiltration, and that is, I mean, I think what makes sense to me is that no matter what it was, you have both sides would be paying attention to it. When I say both sides, I mean like white hats and black hats of high status, let's say. They both know, they can see the impact that this operation is having, and they would want to help steer that in the direction that suits them. And the best way to do that is to infiltrate your own people within the community and push information in certain ways. That's just logic. Logic tells us that would be impossible. That would be the dumbest thing ever. Can you imagine coming up with the Q operation in order to wake people up, and then just being hands off and not even paying attention to what I mean, like you're passing the baton onto these people. You would want to know how they're handling it, how they're taking that information forward.
I think it will balance itself out as well. It always gets worse before it gets better. And I think that's the whole evolvement of the whole community. So it went all great and hunky-dory, and then it went freaking downhill. And, there's always ways that we need to balance out. And I think this was very important of what Q said as well, never worship anybody. And this is so important, because you do see a lot of people worshiping. Worshiping, maybe big.
There's a lot of groupies.
It's almost like a cult, and groupies, and oh my God, this person has so many followers, therefore we have to follow them. And I'm like, no, because they can be full of shit. Right. And my channels and everything stayed small, but I also didn't invest in making it about followers or whatever. I just throw my shit out. If people want to check it out, fine. If not, that's fine too for me, but everybody, I mean, the fact that the first Q drop fell in front of my nose, there is a reason for that. It's because I was in the right place in the right time. And I do believe at all times this happens when it's needed. When you're supposed to be there, it will happen for you.
Totally.
I I feel like, did you just mention a little while? I feel like you mentioned a little while ago that like this movement is kind of fractured right now, something along those lines.
Yeah.
I understand why you're saying that, but at the same time, I feel like we're at a point now where like everybody, like the cream of the crop has risen. I feel like everybody kind of knows who everybody is now. Like everybody knows who the players are, and I feel like those of us, that are on the right side, I feel like we've all gotten a lot closer. So yes, there's fractions, but I also feel like a whole ton of us are more united than we ever have been.
Right. Well, we've learned a lot over the years, like either going through it ourselves or watching other people go through these things. We are a little bit, we're more fine-tuned than we once were. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to make it sound like it's all broken to pieces. I think there's still a lot of work to do. I think we still have a lot of people, like Patricia was talking about, worshiping, praising, being groupies for people that they see with a high following, because that lends credence to somebody. They say, well, when you come across a tweet on your feed and you read it and you see that it has 3 likes, you're probably less likely to engage with it, but if the same thing is said and you come across it, it has, 3,500 likes, you might be more likely to retweet it. That's just psychology. And now that everything can be purchased, you can purchase followers, you can purchase likes, you can purchase retweets, you can purchase anything. You can fake the funk on every single platform. And it's who knows who is behind those people. Like some of these accounts that spring up on Twitter out of nowhere, and they're just putting out all this content, and they just seem like they're just a person at home like me who's interested in the truth. You really don't know who's funding them. You don't know where that money, you don't know if their following is authentic. You really don't know any of that. As far as like the anons and the people that have been slogging along, you're right. We have become more unified. We are a little bit stronger. Our discernment is better, but I still think that we have a little ways to go with that, because I am seeing history start to repeat itself as far as like the tribalism of, I see people kind of being like, well, I don't want to hear if the person that I follow now is possibly doing something wrong. I don't want to hear about it. That's infighting. That's division. But the only thing that we should be here for is the truth. And the truth is never going to be harmed by people asking questions or putting information out. The more transparency we have, the truth is always going to reign supreme. And that's what I think we need to keep coming back to, because there is the cult of personality still.
Just like how the left would just say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, right? To say everything we were saying was a lie. The people sorry. Stop it. My phone won't stop. The people within our movement that have maybe infiltrated, they use the word infighting just like that. They're like, oh, that's just infighting. Like, to try to get people to just stop doing what you're doing.
Exactly, because it wears you out. Because again, if you hired me and I was evil, and I was going to be like, if I was going to infiltrate this community, and my job is to make people quit, give up. If I'm going to try to take down the people that are doing the good work, that's one of the things that I'm going to do. I'm going to send accounts. And whenever they try to expose things, I'm going to send accounts in there that say, oh, stop infighting, stop being divisive. Right. You're just dramatic. You're because you have people that are calling for transparency. And then you have people who are jumping on the infighting that they're either just whiny babies, or they're, it's kind of like the same thing as the grifting stuff. Okay. We're all supposed to be conservatives. Capitalism is a good thing. You want people to make money. There is a big difference between, making money doing honest work and grifting. And honestly, if we want to replace the mainstream media and we want information to flow freely, we need people to be able to do this for a living, as a full-time job, because otherwise people have to go to work and they can only do this on the side. But there is a big difference between, what was the word that Q used? Profiteering. There is a big difference between making money and profiteering. Profiteering has a very specific meaning. And that means that you're taking advantage of people by lying, being duplicitous, whatever. Obviously, we do not want that.
Or stealing content from others and make money on that. I mean, I've seen that with Elon Musk ever since X became monetized and everything. I mean, holy crap. I see stuff coming by that we did like 5-6 years ago, and it's like breaking news. And I'm like, no, it's not. But yet, you know, these are all these new people that had like 200, 300,000 followers, and they make a boatload of money. And, you know, as long as it's for the truth, fine. But if it's to make money, if that's your first priority, then that's not good. But then how do you distinguish the difference one from the other, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm always just judging people based on what, like, are you contradicting yourself? Are you being a hypocrite? Are you trying to tell me what to think, what to believe, who to follow? Are you being manipulative with me? Are you being manipulative with, I mean, there are just a lot of things that I look for, but I also just make a habit out of following everybody kind of loosely. I have pulled back. I'm not following anybody to the point where I'm like, okay, this is who I really trust to give me the information. I'm not trusting anybody with that. And I think that that's the mistake that we make, is that we're getting comfortable now. Like, we went from watching our programs over here to now we're just watching our new programs. And it's like that meme of the opossum on top of the dumpster that's like, don't touch my garbage. Like, nobody wants to hear that some of the MAGA influencers are actually possibly paid operatives, and, you know, that there are these multi-million-dollar operations and, you know, whatever. So I think it's just, we got to keep an open mind and be careful not to follow anybody too tightly. Find the people that you trust, and I don't know.
Well, I'm also convinced that eventually will show itself, right? I do believe that eventually everything comes out, whatever is, you know. We have a saying here, like, honesty takes the longest, and then you can take that in the negative, but it's actually, you know, it's more valid. It's eventually it always comes to fruition. The truth always comes to fruition. Is that how you say that? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm getting a brain fart now.
No, you speak English better than I do.
Yeah.
No, that is a good point. The saying here is that a lie will make its way around the world before the truth even has a chance to get its pants on, or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But we are learning, you know, the discernment is coming. Steve, I feel bad. Your whole family has been sitting there having to be quiet now for an hour and a half.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, good. I mean, I did, but
they're outside socializing. It's fine.
Oh, okay, good. Well, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and like what nights you do your show, or what days you do your shows?
Yeah. So, mostly on X and Rumble. On Rumble, I'm just Real AF Patriot. On X, I'm Real AF _Patriot. I've got my Sunday night show at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time called Real AF Talk. And then on Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, I do The Skiff with Joe Rambo and Awakened Outlaw, and usually Sean and On. And then Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I do Real Justice. I used to do it with The Justice Cometh, and now Scott Beer at the Parade took over. So and now it's me and Scott doing that show Wednesday night. So that show hopefully, you know, may get very exciting when hopefully those arrests finally start happening.
Yes. Well, I mean, like, something's got to give. There are going to be changes, you know, there's always something big happening. And so I'm glad that you're there and people are getting to know you and getting to know your character, and you're going to be one of those people, I have no doubt, that will be there for people when some of the exciting stuff that is hopefully coming any day now.
No doubt. Real quick, did you guys see Bill Barr? Today was his day to be deposed.
No.
I did. Yeah, today was the day. So I don't think any of us knew until today, but those depositions are behind closed door. So at first I was like, that sucks. But honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's all already happened. Whatever. We're just being shown. So I don't think it matters that it's behind closed doors, but hopefully somehow we find out what he said.
I do think there has to be something big that happens in the public eye. I don't think everything could just get cleaned up behind the scenes, even though I do agree with you that things have already happened. I think that the new camera rooms that they built at Gitmo, I even think this ballroom that Trump is working on, like, these things are being set up for something. And I hope that we get full transparency, that we see it with our own eyes, so that we never have to just guess and repeat history again. I want to know exactly what happened here and why.
You think something's up with that room that he's building?
Yeah, I think it's for celebrations. Yeah. I think that, why does one need a ballroom like that, unless you're going to be celebrating some things.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I'm celebrating something because I finally have actually Red Castle members in my Rumble. Yay! Thank you, Justin King's friend, for those gifted Rumble Castle members. I just wanted to say that, and thank you for people being there in the chat, because I never have people in my chat in Rumble, and that's a first. So
yes,
except for Thunder, but
yes,
he's always there. Thank you.
And thank you also to the NPC show for rating us on Pilled. And thank you guys so much for being here. Steve, I hope you'll come back and visit us again.
Absolutely. Anytime.
And talk about some more stuff. Patricia, anything else before we go?
Yeah, I also want to thank the people in YouTube for being there in the chat. I do see you guys. And it's nice to be back.
Yes.
You say on YouTube, right, you're on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm the only one that hasn't been purged on YouTube, because that's where I have all my followers still. Gotcha. And I just build it up on Rumble, which is still very small. Well, even my YouTube obviously went down because I haven't done a lot. But yeah, I'm back, and I hope I'm going to be back soon with my own show by myself. I have to invent one first.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. We'll be back next Monday. Now, I hope this slot works for you guys, because we are now on Mondays at this time. So
yes,
we will see you later. Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.